Good morning and welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Friday, the 23rd day of Shvat. And let's begin with tzedakah. Gedola tzedakah, shemekarev heses hageula. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. Make sure to give tzedakah every day. Today we're going to conclude chapter 23 that speaks about the unity with Hashem through Torah, studying Torah. And during the mitzvahs, we spoke about how this connects us to Hashem. But a special, perfect unity that happens when we study Torah, because this is the ultimate connection with Hashem, with the very essence and will of God when we study Torah and we understand the Torah, or when we say the words of the Torah. It's very apropos this week, this Shabbos. We're going to read the portion of Yisro, the Ten Commandments. We read about the godly revelation to each and every one. Each and every Jew was there at the Mount Sinai receiving the Torah from Hashem. The prophet Isaiah says in Isaiah 55, it says, Hoi kol tzamei l'chul hamayim. Ho, anyone who is thirsty, go to the water. Our sages tell us, and the Gemara says, Ein mayim ela Torah. What is water? Torah. But the question is, what is the great novelty here? If you're thirsty, you go to water. Every child knows that. If you want to study Torah, if you're thirsty for Torah, you study Torah. That's obvious. However, there is a deeper meaning here, deeper understanding. That Ahoy Kol Tzameh, anyone who is thirsty for God, if you're thirsty for God, go study Torah. The simple laws in the Torah. Shor shenogach hasapara, a bull that gores a cow. Those simple things, those are the wisdom of Hashem, and when you study the Torah, you connect with the very essence of Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe goes on now to explain that when we study the Torah, although we don't appreciate that great godly revelation, and there is a reason why we don't appreciate that, because if we would appreciate it, if we would understand, if we would grasp the godliness, we wouldn't be able to contain it. It would be too much. The higher worlds, the angels, they can't get that. They don't have the essence. But we study Torah, and we have, nevertheless, that very essential connection with Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe says that we should definitely try to understand that greatness. We should try to understand, to meditate upon what happens when we study the Torah. And that would lead us to the ultimate great fear of Hashem. And because this is really ultimately where we need to be in a place of love of Hashem, but at the same time also fear of Hashem. It's not enough just to love God. You need to get to a place of fear, and it's not fear of Hashem doesn't mean to fear of the boogeyman, something scary. Hashem is the loving God, and Hashem loves each and every one of us. But the fear of Hashem is the understanding and appreciation of the awesomeness of the greatness of Hashem. And Alter Rebbe is going to explain that there are two levels of fear of Hashem. There is a fear that leads us to doing the Torah, studying Torah and doing mitzvahs. And there is the ultimate fear of Hashem that comes as a result of the studying Torah and doing the mitzvahs. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. The Alter Rebbe, מזה יוכל המשכיל להמשיך עליו יראה גדולה ועוסק בתורה. From this explanation of the lofty stature of Torah study, the wise man will be able to draw upon himself a sense of great awe as he engages in the study of the Torah. That in the study of the Torah, when you appreciate what happens, as that Rebbe goes on to explain, כשהזבוינן איך שנפשו ילבושר שבמויכו בפיו הם מיוחדים ממש בתכלס הייחוד ברוצן העליון ואויר אין סוף ברוך הוא ממש המסגל בהם. And he considers how his soul and its garments of thought and speech that are found in the brain and the mouth are truly fused in perfect unity with the divine will and the infinite light of the Ein Sof that is manifest in them, meaning the soul and its garments when he studies Torah. So we're thinking about the greatness of Hashem. Number one, it says what type of unity, becoming one, really, meyuchadim mamish, being really perfect unity with Hashem, and what level of godliness is Oyer Ein Sof Baruch Hu mamish, the light of Ein Sof, the real light. Mamish means the real one, meaning the very high level of godliness as is revealed. And that level of godliness, the higher spiritual worlds, is nothing compared to this level. This infinite light manifest in one's Torah study is such a lofty level that all the upper and lower worlds are truly as naught in comparison with it. There are, in fact, as absolutely nothing at all, so much so that it can only bear to have a minute glow of it clothed in them without their reverting to nothingness altogether. Nach Yosam, Iker Chayusam, rak Ezu ha'oreb mislabeshe b'toichem asher choylem lisbo shelo yizbatlem v'metzius legamrei. The main life force which they receive from it, however, is not clothed within them, but animates them from the outside, so to speak, in a transcendent, encompassing manner. So as we explained yesterday, there is the light that goes internally, there's the light that encompasses. There's a little, very small level of life goes internally to sustain them, but the greater light is only encompassing them in the higher spiritual worlds. And now the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain a very interesting verse in the Torah. It says, "V'zeu shekasov vayitzavenu Hashem es kol hachukim ha'ele leyiros Hashem v'geimer." This is the meaning of the verse, and God commanded us to fulfill all these statutes in order to fear God. So this verse is a little, it needs explanation. Why? Because if you think about it, why do we need to fear Hashem? What is the purpose of the fear? We fear God, and the fear of Hashem leads us to fulfill God's commandments. But here he says the opposite. God commanded us to do all the commandments, to fulfill all these commandments, in order to fear God. So how do you explain this? And the answer is that the Rebbe explains what it says in the Mishnah. In Avos it says, "Im ein Yira, ein Chachma, im ein Chachma, ein Yira." If there is no fear, there is no wisdom. If there is no wisdom, there is no fear. So which comes first? Is it fear or wisdom? Fear or Torah study? Or Torah study or fear? And the answer is that there's two types of fear. There is the first level of fear of Hashem. You realize, you recognize the greatness of Hashem. You recognize that you don't want to, Hashem is the king, and you want to be connected with the king, you don't want to be disconnected with Hashem. And that leads you to do the mitzvahs and to study Torah. But then there is the deeper level. When you study Torah, and you appreciate the greatness of what is happening when you study Torah, that the Torah, that what we just explained, that the Hashem himself, God himself, the greatest level of God becomes unified with you by you studying God's will and wisdom. That leads to the fear of Hashem, the ultimate fear of Hashem. The ultimate fear is recognizing how we are really nothing. And that is something that not everybody can achieve. Different levels, different people can achieve. But nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe says it applies in some way to everyone. And that's what Alter Rebbe continues. Regarding this great fear, our sages said, if there is no wisdom, there is no fear. So in this context, wisdom represents Torah study, and fear, the higher level of fear of the awe of God, which can be reached only by way of the Torah. By contrast, the statement, if there is no fear, there is no wisdom, refers to the lower level of fear, which is a prerequisite for Torah study, as stated above. והתורה נקראת אצלו תרא לדרתא, כמו שנזמר במקום אחר. In relation to this level of fear, the Torah is called a gateway to the courtyard, meaning the sole means of entering the courtyard, meaning the higher level of fear as explained elsewhere. Like the Gemara says, if you build a door, a gateway, and you don't have a courtyard, that doesn't make sense. You need to have a courtyard, and then you have a door to enter that courtyard. So the Torah is considered the gateway that leads you into the courtyard. The ultimate is the fear of Hashem, the ultimate fear of Hashem. However, says the Alter Rebbe, we have to understand that not everyone is capable of achieving that fear, that level of awe. We can understand that, but not everyone is in a level, has a spirit, a soul sensitive enough to sense the godliness. Says the Alter Rebbe, not every mind, however, can sustain such a fear. But nevertheless, even those who are not able to reach that level, not even a little bit of it, it does not affect their connection with Hashem, to serve Hashem with the lower level fear. Says the Alter Rebbe, yet even he whose mind cannot bear such a fear, not even a minute part of it. And why is it that he cannot do it? Is because the level of a soul comes from a lower part of the worlds. We explained earlier in Tanya, there's the four general worlds, Atzilus, Beriya, Yetzira, and Asiya. And each world has the 10 attributes, and the souls are rooted in one of those worlds and in one of the levels of the worlds. And some people have souls that are rooted in lower level worlds, and therefore they're not capable of developing such an open feeling and a sense of godliness. And it's not a bad thing. It's because that's the mission of that soul, to live in the world, in this physical world, and to elevate their part of the world. Says the Alter Rebbe, מפני בחיסוס ערך נפשה בשורש המקורי במדרגת תחתונס דעשר ספירס דעשייה. The reason why they are not able to develop this level of fear, it has been because the root and the source of his soul derives from an inferior level, the lower gradations of the 10 sephiros of the world of Asiya, which is the lowest of the four worlds. Nevertheless, says the Alter Rebbe, even he should not be deterred from the actual performance of Torah and mitzvahs for want of this fear, as will be explained further later on, chapter 41. The Alter Rebbe will explain this. So, this is the end of today's shir. Alter Rebbe basically explained in the last few chapters, the end of chapter 23, which Alter Rebbe explained the great level of unity that occurs when we do the mitzvahs, when we do the Torah, each in their level. And ultimately, what Alter Rebbe leads us is giving us tools to meditate and to think how what we do here and what is the effect of our actions in this world of the Torah and the mitzvahs. And that ultimately we realize that that's what we want to do. This is who we are. Our neshama wants that connection. And the next chapter, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain how the other end, separating from Hashem, is like idol worship. So this will be the shir tomorrow, B'ez Hashem. Wishing you all a good Shabbos, and we'll see you B'ezrat Hashem after Shabbos. Have a good day.